Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Many Americans now paying the price for what they chose to do over the Thanksgiving break. We're now seeing that post-Thanksgiving spike in COVID-19 cases, and the governor is threatening to shut down the state if things don't change. Big Fox News COVID-19 specialist Amanda Decker is here with a look at the fallout from those holiday gatherings.
The United States passes the 300,000 mark for COVID-19 related deaths. It's a milestone that we were warned about a few months back, but it seemed hard to believe at the time. Last week, we saw our single highest day of COVID-19 deaths with 3,124 people losing their lives to the virus. That's more than D-Day or 9/11. In Chemung County right now, 40 people are in the hospital, 37 new cases reported today, and 4 more people have died. Governor Cuomo now threatening a full shutdown in some places if cases and hospitalizations in parts of New York don't slow down soon. So how did we get here? The experts are pointing to Thanksgiving when so many people chose not to heed the warnings and decided to travel anyway. More Americans passed through U.S. airport security checkpoints on the Wednesday before and Sunday after Thanksgiving than at any other point since March. And now 830 TSA employees have COVID. That's a 38% increase from the number of TSA employees who were COVID-19 positive on Thanksgiving Day. But we're now less than 2 weeks away from Christmas. We're right in the middle of Hanukkah. Officials now once again begging people to stay home and avoid those family gatherings. That's because traveling, especially by air, and taking part in indoor gatherings are two of the most dangerous things you can do right now. Everything we do this holiday season impacts everything we do in our day-to-day lives. In Steuben County, Hornell Junior Senior High School now switching over to a virtual model of learning on Monday after 21 students and teachers in the district tested positive for COVID-19. When that district returns to school in the new year, they will be in a hybrid model, half in-person, half virtual learning, until those cases do start to slow down. Reporting for Big Fox News, I'm COVID-19 specialist Amanda Decker.
Demonstrators gather at New York City's Times Square in a push to save the restaurant industry. The protesters gathered in Times Square today with plans to march down to Governor Andrew Cuomo's office in the city. The restaurant industry has already faced a devastating financial blow due to COVID-19 restrictions. Industry officials say thousands of restaurants have closed and many more are in danger of closing if there is no comprehensive relief package for the industry. Industry workers say the new wave of restrictions in the city, which includes a ban on indoor dining, will push them into further financial chaos. Participating restaurants were expected to go dark on Instagram to show support for the rally. Less than a year after the COVID-19 pandemic erupted in the U.S., the first doses of a vaccine are delivered to all 50 states. But this comes as the country passes a grim milestone, 300,000 COVID-19 related deaths. That's according to Johns Hopkins University. John Lawrence has more.
A major moment in medical history. Sandra Lindsay, an ICU nurse at the Long Island Jewish Medical Center, is the first person in New York and among the first in the country to receive the COVID-19 vaccine.
I feel great. It doesn't feel any different than the influenza vaccine I take annually. I wanted to do it to inspire people who may be skeptical about taking the vaccine and trust in the science.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends the vaccine be given to frontline healthcare workers and people in long-term care facilities first.
It is such a moment of hope because we can see the light.
We are exposed to it every minute of every day. So I can't tell you how much this means to me.
While the vaccine is a major step forward for the few who can get it, health officials stress the battle against the pandemic is far from over.
We have to drill home the message that this vaccine, as wonderful as it is not going to change the trajectory of what we experienced this winter.
They say Americans need to keep wearing masks and maintain physical distance. Drug makers, meanwhile, have to ramp up vaccine manufacturing.
Creating tens of thousands of doses for clinical trials different than hundreds of millions of doses for, the world.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The COVID-19 vaccine is finally in the southern tier, and the hospital staff at Arnott Medical Center were the first ones to get the vaccine. Matt Kleinditz is there tonight to highlight the occasion.
Good evening. A historic moment for the Arnott Medical Center in Elmira as doctors and nurses rolled up their sleeves to be the first to get the COVID vaccine.
This is definitely a turning point.
The first batch of the vaccine arrived this morning. and Arnett Hospital worked quickly to get their first staff members vaccinated. About a dozen or so people waited in line for their first COVID shot. The hospital's first recipient was ICU nurse Cale Burfield.
I've been ready for this for a very long time. I've been super excited.
Burfield was quickly processed and vaccinated before being observed for side effects for 15 minutes. He believes the vaccine will help end the pandemic and encourages residents to get vaccinated when they can.
You know, I want everyone to know this is safe. This is the only way we're going to get back to normal, and, you know, people have to trust the science.
Jonathan Lawrence says that hospital staff have worked tirelessly to tend to COVID patients. He's appreciative of the work they've accomplished and that the vaccine distribution should be celebrated.
So they are truly my heroes, and they deserve this vaccine more than words can say.
Reporting from Elmira, Matt Kleinden's Big Fox, WYDC.
The Steuben County Health Department is conducting rapid testing in downtown Corning. In partnership with Corning Community College, tests are being administered at the Corning Health Education Center. The COVID tests will be free to all Steuben County residents. Darlene Smith hopes these rapid tests will help catch positive residents who may be asymptomatic.
There's many positive individuals in the community who don't have any symptoms at all, so they have no idea that they're sick. With the rapid test, you know, the results come back so quickly. We're able to do that, as well as put into quarantine the contacts that we discover.
Testing is available tomorrow from 9 a.m. until noon and from 1 until 4 in the afternoon. Participants must pre-register at the link below in order to get tested. Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine is next to be considered for emergency use authorization in the United States for people ages 18 and older. The FDA has already authorized the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine for emergency use in the U.S. An advisory panel to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has released a briefing document ahead of their meeting Thursday. It confirms that the Moderna vaccine's efficacy against COVID-19 was 94.5%, which Moderna had previously reported. The proposed dosing regimen is 2 doses at least 1 month apart. Most Americans say they will, quote, definitely or probably get a coronavirus vaccine. That's according to a new survey from the Kaiser Family Foundation. 71% of those surveyed said they would either get the vaccine or were likely to. That's an increase from 63% in September, which indicates an increase in public trust. Regulators working to authorize a vaccine more transparent, holding public meetings to discuss their findings. The trust factor is key because development of a vaccine isn't as effective unless enough people get vaccinated. Black Americans, people living in rural areas, and Republicans are more hesitant about getting the shots. Negotiations are underway to find a compromise to save a COVID-19 relief bill on Capitol Hill. The debate on coronavirus relief comes as Congress must also pass a $1.4 trillion spending bill to avoid a shutdown. That measure must be approved by Friday at midnight to fund the federal government until the end of September 2021. Federal lawmakers are hopeful they can also find common ground on a $908 billion compromise COVID relief plan. But to get to an agreement with Republicans, Democrats may be forced to scrap $160 billion in federal aid to cash-strapped cities and states. The Electoral College met on Monday to cast its vote, confirming that Joe Biden is president-elect. That's been the case for well over a month, despite the flailing attempts by Trump and Republicans to overturn the election. The Electoral College's official vote is the latest defeat for those assaults on democracy. Biden spoke to the American people after Monday's vote. He said it's time to move on, but he didn't let Trump off the hook entirely. He criticized the defeated president's post-election actions. Jessica Dean reports.
The integrity of our elections remains intact. And now it's time to turn the page.
President-elect Joe Biden speaking directly to the American people after the Electoral College affirmed his decisive win, delivering his most direct criticism of President Donald Trump's post-election legal challenges.
In America, politicians don't take power. People grant power to them. And we now know nothing, not even a pandemic or an abuse of power, can extinguish that flame.
All states where Trump challenged the vote count, casting their electoral votes for Biden, despite unprecedented efforts from the president and his allies.
The people have spoken. It was a safe, fair, and secure election.
Addressing Trump directly, Biden called the legal tactics extreme, accusing the president and his legal team of trying to subvert the will of the people.
The presidency to a candidate who lost the Electoral College, lost the popular vote, and lost each and every one of the states whose votes they were trying to reverse. It's a position so extreme, we've never seen it before.
Still, some Republicans on Capitol Hill refusing to acknowledge Biden's victory. Asked by CNN whether Biden is the president-elect, Senator Jim Inhofe responding, quote, "I'm not going to comment on that." Senator John Kennedy also dodging, saying, quote, "I don't have anything for you on that." Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy have yet to recognize Biden's win as well. One retiring congressional Republican is changing his party affiliation in the last weeks of his term.
It became clear to me that I could no longer be associated with the Republican Party, that leadership does not stand up and say, the process, the election is over. It's over today.
The president-elect also calling out Republican lawmakers and state attorneys general after a failed last-ditch effort last week to get the Supreme Court to overturn the results in 4 swing states.
This legal maneuver was an effort by elected officials and one group of states to try to get the Supreme Court to wipe out the votes of more than 20 million Americans in other states. The court sent a clear signal to President Trump that they would be no part of an unprecedented assault on our democracy.
Still ahead tonight, a California judge ordering the release of more than 1,800 prison inmates due to the spread of COVID-19.
These aren't low-lying offenders. These are people in for very serious offenses: murder, attempted murder, domestic violence.
Hear from the county sheriff about why he believes the public safety is now at risk.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Attar. Good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Kim Walker with your weather update. A winter storm watch is in effect for tomorrow as a major storm will be moving eastward, dumping a lot of snow. Heavy snow could be possible by the end of the day on Wednesday. So all the areas shaded in the blue under that watch, areas in the pink under a warning. And so don't be surprised if our viewing area will be under that warning for tomorrow. So there will be a low pressure system that will be moving from the southern plains into the Midwest and then move eastward into the Atlantic by the end of the day on Wednesday. It is going to initially bring a lot of moisture northward, and then on the backside of it, that moisture will be wrapped around and will be moving right over our area. And so as a result, there will be some locations that could pick up about 10 inches of snow. So if you're going to be walking the dog early tomorrow morning, heavy coat will be in order. Temperatures starting off in the teens, 20 degrees at 8 o'clock, but I'm expecting a lot of clouds during the day. Not any snow early on, or at least for the first half of the day, but by the afternoon, snow will start to increase. Temperature-wise, we'll stay quite cold, near the freezing mark, or below that throughout the day. And of course, with a little bit of a breeze, it will make those temperatures feel just a little bit colder. For tomorrow morning at around 9 o'clock in the morning, most of the snow will be located south of Pennsylvania, creeping northward through the state, and then heading into New York at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. If we zoom in, notice that snow starts to take over by 6 o'clock in the evening. So it's going to be widespread snow that will continue from Wednesday night into early Thursday. In fact, there will be some heavy snowfall late in the night and into early in the morning hours on Thursday. Around 3 o'clock, still covered with a lot of snow. And all this, though, will be giving way to a little bit drier conditions by 6 o'clock. It looks like Hornell and Bath, we could see a little bit drier conditions around 6 o'clock. And then all this will be pressing eastward by lunchtime. So A lot of snow to be had. Here's our estimates right now. This is one particular model showing in Chemung County, anywhere between 5 to 11 inches could be possible. Down to the south, a little bit closer to that low, some places could pick up close to or a little bit over a foot of snow. So a lot of snow to go around just because we have a lot of moisture as well. Tonight is going to be very cold, readings in the teens as we start off the day tomorrow, and then highs only around 31 degrees in Corning, 31 in Elmira. We are expecting about 3 inches by the afternoon tomorrow, and then if tomorrow night into early Thursday, maybe an additional 4 to 5 inches could be possible. Temperature-wise, it will start to improve. 36 degrees by Friday. Drier conditions this weekend. A lot of clouds on Saturday, but looks like we could reach the 40s by the end of the weekend.
A California court has ordered the crowded Orange County Jail's inmate population to be reduced by half out of concern for coronavirus safety. But the sheriff says he's worried about the safety of the general public if more than 1,800 violent inmates are released. Michelle Guile has the story.
The public should be in a panic, and they should be concerned about this release.
If Orange County's large jail population is cut in half to abide by a new court order, Sheriff Don Barnes says the public's safety will be at risk.
These aren't low-lying offenders. These are people in for very serious offenses: murder, attempted murder, domestic violence.
Orange County Civil Court Judge Peter Wilson sided with the ACLU, which sued the sheriff over concerns about inmates spreading coronavirus in congregated living areas. Conditions in the jail do not permit proper social distancing, the judge ruled. The population in the jail today is 3,716 inmates, and the judge ordered that it be reduced by 50%. Which means 1,858 inmates would be released. Several hundred of them are medically vulnerable.
Of just those who are medically vulnerable based on CDC guidelines, that's 700 inmates in our care. There are 59 of them in for murder, another 39 for attempted murder, 90 of them in for child molestation, and a litany of other violent crimes.
Sheriff Barnes says more than 1,300 inmates have already been released since the pandemic began. He's appealing the court's order.
And if this judge is going to order the release of individuals entrusted in my care who I believe present a significant threat to the public, he will have to identify each one of those by name and order their release pursuant to his authority, not mine.
Americans have been spending more time at home now, of course, and much of that time is spent sitting down. This lifestyle change is creating some unforeseen effects on people's physical health. Mandy Gaither explains why it's so important to remain physically active, even in the midst of the pandemic.
One of the side effects of the pandemic is that it has turned many people into couch potatoes. Social isolation, working from home, binge watching TV, all factors that have Americans sitting for hours longer a day compared to their pre-pandemic lifestyles. And this year, people are reporting new aches and pains, which doctors are directly linking to the sedentary behavior.
Muscles weaken a lot with just a little bit of inactivity. And when the muscles are weak, their joints don't work so well.
Orthopedic surgeon Dr. Angela Smith says there are many guidelines that recommend how often you should get up and move around throughout the day. But rather than setting alarms, it's better to just listen to your body.
Anytime you think that you're tired or stiff or want to get up and get a drink, get up, do it, because any motion is better than just sitting there.
Dr. Smith also says the best motivation is making exercise fun.
We want always exercise to be fun, because the fun exercise is the exercise you're going to do.
Being physically active is not only critical for reducing aches and pains, but adds to your overall health and well-being. For today's Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
AAA is projecting a nearly 30% drop in holiday travel this year. It's expecting about 34 million fewer U.S. residents will travel from December 23rd to January 3rd compared to the year 2019. It shows many Americans may be listening to advice from the CDC not to travel over the holidays during the pandemic. AAA predicts nearly 3 million Americans will fly over the holidays. That's way down, almost 60% from 2019. And about 81 million people will travel by car, about 25% fewer than last year. If you are still planning on hitting the road this holiday season, it's important to stay safe. Mandy Gaither has a look at what products you can pick up to assure a safe road trip during the pandemic.
Hitting the road during a pandemic? COVID-19 may be adding new worries for people heading out for a quick winter road trip.
Everything's really different now, and you have to take a lot of precautions.
Nationally syndicated tech columnist Jennifer Jolly has some tips and gadget ideas to pack in the fun safely. Number 1, grab a lifeline. It's frustrating when you can't get a cell signal, but when you're in the middle of this pandemic, it can be life-threatening. She recommends a product that lets you access maps, weather, and extends your cell coverage.
The SureCall Fusion To Go 3.0 fixes that whole "can you hear me now" issue. I mean, it's a cell phone signal amplifier that boosts weak signals across multiple devices, and it works across all carriers too.
Next, stay powered up. Make sure you have a reliable way to charge all your gadgets so you won't have to plug in at a public space. And 3, zap those germs. She says don't forget the sanitizers and the wipes, and also recommends this cordless UVC sterilizer called the Monos Clean Pod.
It claims to wipe out viruses, bacteria, and all kinds of nasty little germies, but UV light damages human skin, so don't use it on your hands, your face, or any other part of your body.
And number 4, take the entertainment along for the ride. Create the ultimate binge watch playlist for your whole family. And finally, turn it up. Invest in a nice Bluetooth speaker for the road and for the destination. For Consumer Watch, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Creators of an amazing piece of robotic technology show off its bells and whistles and its dance moves. Jeremy Gaither has more in today's Take a Look at This.
This tiny, mind-boggling underwater robot has no moving parts, but it can still walk, roll, and transport cargo. The centimeter-sized soft tissue robot was created by researchers at Northwestern University and functions with no electricity, hydraulics, or complex hardware of any kind. Instead, its tissue is infused with a thin nickel skeleton, which is activated by light and follows the direction of a magnetic field. It can carry cargo, walk uphill at human speeds, and, get a load of this, it can even break dance to release particles that become stuck in its grasp. Its creators imagine a wealth of possibilities for the technology, like being able to maneuver in tight, narrow spaces with complex routes, catalyze chemical reactions, and even deliver cells to specific tissues. And hey, if all that doesn't work out, maybe a future on Dancing with the Microscopic Stars.
Has I found the dog? There's a dog.
We now head back to the surface, where wild weather conditions on Australian beaches caused quite a stir. They also caused massive amounts of sea foam, like shoulder-high sea foam. A news crew was about to go live from the scene when a dog became lost in the frothy surf. The reporter helped the owner and several others search for the dog, named Hazel, and eventually their efforts paid off. Hazel was pulled from the lather and was safely back with her owner. And that wasn't the only rescue that unfolded in the area. At nearby Currumbin Beach, a woman jumped in the water to rescue beer kegs that had been swept away, showing she wasn't afraid to brave the suds in order to save the suds. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
We want to leave you with a smile and some sweet cravings tonight. Get your frosting fix. Today is National Cupcake Day. Fun fact, the sweet treat was originally known as the 1, 2, 3, 4 cake as a simple way to remember the basic recipe. 1 cup of butter, 2 cups of sugar, 3 cups of flour, and 4 eggs. The small cakes have since evolved, and you can get just about any flavor of cupcake now. No word on who came up with National Cupcake Day or why December 15th was chosen as the designated day, but they should definitely be thanked. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.